So when there's a party, when there's a family gathering, and when there's a work party, when there's basically something that requires everybody to gather, and at their free time, they wouldn't show up. Or when they show up, they're in a hurry to leave. And when you ask them, they say, oh, my partner said this, my partner said that, I need to get going so that my partner doesn't get angry. So everything they do is basically about their partner and how concerned their partner is. It could be a man, maybe he has to spend some money, but he's saying, my partner doesn't want that, my partner will not be happy, my partner likes this way, so let me do it this way. But since we are talking about women and children, I would like it to limit it to that. Okay, and then changes in performance at work and at school. So you find that the child goes to school, first year they are okay, learning is fine, but all of a sudden their academics is dropping, and you come to class, they are sleeping, you come to class, they look absent-minded, and you ask them why, they still don't know why, they feel tired consistently, they don't feel like doing anything. Work performances, that absent-minded, you give them mistakes, but previously they were not like that. Then most especially so alcohol use, substance use, start engaging in risk like around. So these girls would sleep around, and they wouldn't consider their purity as anything worthwhile anymore. All right. And then we have social and relational signs. So another sign that you can also look out for are the social cues. So they avoid social interactions, they avoid talking about anything relationship. They lose contact with their family members. So you talk to them, you ask them, so you talk to your mother, your father, they are fighting with all of them, or their parents are fighting with them because maybe they don't come home often, or they don't interact with them, or they tell you that their partner believes that they shouldn't interact with their family members anymore. And then, as I said before, they lose interest in communicating about relationships, and they have visible signs that they don't want to be around people. When their partner is there, they want to stay with their partner. They are constantly sitting with their partner or anything. They are just sitting, and their partner is also sitting by them. But you can see the fear and then the concern in them. And then we have the economical. So when you start chat with them, it's working, the person is not working. But even when they are working, they sound like their money is not for them, or they sound like they have nowhere to go to, they have nothing to do, they have no resources to do anything for themselves, and their partner determines what they use their resources for. So they also have evidence of restricted movements. It's like they don't have any other friends to go to, any family, because they are isolated from them. So they sound as if they are helpless, and when they leave, their partner is going to find them. And then we come to communication and disclosure. So they usually give hints. That's what I've found, that victims of gender-based violence give hints of what is happening to them. They sound like they don't want to live anymore. They sound like something in their words, in their behavior. They feel trapped. They feel unsafe. These are ways that they use in all their examples of life, even if they get to talk about in a social setting, even if they engage in relationship conversation, they sound like relationships are abusive. They sound like relationships are an unsafe place to be, and it's something that needs to be avoided. Okay, and then they have reluctantness to tell you what is happening to them. Tell you what is happening to them. So they won't tell you about their partner, or don't tell you what is happening in their relationship. They'll keep quiet about it. When you ask them, they'll say nothing is wrong, or we are just going through a bad time, and I think everything will be fine. whereas everybody can talk about the challenges in their relationship and laugh about it, they don't find it funny and they don't find it as something to talk about at all. Okay, so these are some of the signs that you can look out for: the physical, the psychological, the social, behavioral, and communication and disclosure. It's very important that at least you have one of each category in there. Even though the physical signs we are not seeing, it's important that you look out for the psychological, the social, and the behavioral indicators, and most especially the economic, because like their resources do not belong to them anymore. Okay, so I'll move on straight to how to approach them. Sometimes when they come into clinic, I ask myself, do they have family? Do they have friends that they can talk to? And do their friends and families know exactly what to do and how to help? It's very important that we know how this is done. So looking at it and thinking through it, I considered maybe that we can use the TAP note approach, TAPNOPE, the TAP note approach. Okay, so it's an acronym that I put together just to help us remember. So it's very important that we consider the time and place. It needs to be appropriate. You must make sure that when you're approaching somebody you suspect is going through a gender-based violence, you would make sure that you have the time to talk to them. You make sure that they have the time and it's in an environment where they feel safe, in an environment where they'll be okay to meet you, to talk about things, okay? And the place is also very important. If they are going to escape their partner, they are going to tell a lie, okay? And you go with it. However, they feel they have to be able to talk to you if you've noticed it. And then we also have approach them with care and empathy. You tell them, oh, I've seen this, I've seen that. I think there's something going on. I don't know what is going on, but I want to just help. If there's anything you need support with, let me know. I'm seeing this signs, and it looks like some form of abuse is going on, but I don't know what it really is. But I'm here to help you. How are you feeling? How are things going? It seems like you are changing. Please speak to me. Let's see how we can work things out. So your approach should be caring and empathetic. We are also looking at practical or active listening. In active listening, is doing all the talking, especially when they've started to open up. So they do all the talking and then do the listening. So they are talking, you're like, oh, okay. Oh, that must be very sad. Then you should have felt very bad about it. So what did you do? How did you go about it? Oh, okay. And you've done very well. I think you are very strong. Active listening. Then what understand? Are you saying your husband took away all the money so you don't know how to come out? That must be very imprisoning. You speak in a way that they feel you are listening to them. You need to be less judgmental, not judgmental and on them. Judgment is anti. So you sat down and then watch them to do all these things to try at all. Making statements that make them feel that they're, but honestly, the victim is doing a lot of on how to escape. Okay, so it's not as if they are doing nothing, but they are doing one or two things together. Whether it's a child or a woman living with an abusive husband, she's put things together. She's probably staying there because of the children, but she knows that she needs to get a divorce, or she knows that she needs to get away from this particular man who is always making her feel that she's nothing and everything that she's doing for the family. Okay, so we need to be non-judgmental, not put pressure on them to leave the house. You need to leave as soon as possible. If you don't leave now, something bad. No, we don't do that. We just leave them and ask them what plan do they have? What have to do? Have they tried escaping before? And how did they go? All these things are questions that you can ask. Then we have offer support and not solution. You are there to support their plan. because they are in the problem and they know how to escape. So you are there to provide an escape route. That's why in other areas or other countries, they have a home that people can go to, that people can run to. Family members also are also open to providing a place where their relatives abused can go to. I know a family that they have a particular house where when you are abused, you can go to and find solace. Okay, so these are, you give support, you don't give a solution. Then I think you should use structure and go this way. No, if they say they need that kind of help, you give it. So after you listen, you ask them what's the plan, and then you provide the support that you can give. Patience. When I say patience and persistence, I mean that give them the time to go and then look at how they can, how their escape plan can work. Persistence is calling them frequently, becoming friends with them, letting them know that you care about them. Their caregiver would, their abuser would notice that you have come into their life and they'll try to get them to not associate with you. Okay, so when you call them, you need to ask them, is there a safe time to talk? Okay, because they'll probably be telling a lot of lies so that the abuser doesn't know that they have a new person in their life who's trying to help. So you need to also, and then they try to also hide what is going on between the two of you. But you calling all the time, you need to make sure that it's the right time and it's the right place for you to talk. But your message, your text message, your WhatsApp message, your missed calls, let victim know that she's not alone and that if she needs help from someone, you would be there. It's also very important to encourage seeking professional help. They lie they are going to the market or they are going to pick their children, or the children lie that, oh, school, there's something going on at school, so they have to go and participate in it. So when they go and buy something, they wouldn't go home early. All those times are times when they can escape and seek professional help. And the professional help assess their psychological state. It will help them with their team. And once they are empowered in that, then they know that they can seek help and they are not a problem. Okay. Things that you shouldn't do. Kindly don't approach the abuser. It's very important that all things are done in hiding and then are done in such a way that the abuser does notice, because they are very manipulative and they can be very aggressive when it gets the worst state. Okay, and make promises you cannot keep. If you know that you are making a promise to this person and you cannot keep it, please don't give the support that you can't keep. And then don't give them pressure to leave. Yes, timing is very important, and then timing for them to do what they have to do is very important. But the person's readiness to also leave and the reasons why they are there is also very, most of them cannot run away and leave their children. Most of the children also feel that that is my family, that is my father, that is my mother. So if you don't have a person who will really fight when they are going through stress, but you have a person who would freeze or a person who would lay back, then you would need to be even more patient. But the fighter would quickly leave the place. But most often, victims become people who would freeze or not fight or be laid back when they are going through a stress response. So that is the tap no approach. T for time, A for approach with care and empathy, P for practice or active listening, N for non-judgmental or no pressure, O for offer support and not solution, P for be patient and persistent, and then we have E for encourage seeking professional help. We're also going to straight ahead look at some agencies that I know are helping. At the police hospital, we have a social service center, which is part of the psychology department. So the social service center and then the psychology units are together. We have dedicated staff who help into abuse. We also have, okay, so usually DOSU brings their patients to the hospital and the services are free. Once a DOSU officer brings you to the hospital, you pay nothing. The card is free. Everything that you do here is free. Okay, you don't pay anything for that service because a policeman brought you in. And then I gave the rep who was chatting with me an emergency number I called the last time. That is the Orange Support Center under the Ministry of Gender Child Services. Okay, this Orange Center is also functioning, still functioning, and they also provide help for abusers, victim gender-based violence. So that is it for today. That's a little that I would like to share with. Over to you, Holani.
Thank you so much, Madam Georgina, for your presentation. This has been very insightful. In a situation where you've managed to draw near to the victim or the person you've noticed that might be going through abuse, maybe they are not willing to speak, or maybe we are not asking the right questions. What are the questions we can put forward that would give us the right answers we need? What are some of the questions?
It's very important you ask open-ended questions like, how are you? How are things going? I've noticed that your performance is going down. What is happening? Is it money? Is it family? Tell me about it. I'm here to listen. I'm here to support you. Maybe usually the first day they wouldn't open up, but the following week you ask again. Just keep asking, how are you? How are you doing? Okay. Or you can say, oh, maybe what you are going through is very about, but about parts that are not so painful. And then later we talk about the painful parts. That's what I usually do in therapy. And then it really helps them to open up. Because usually when they are going through abuse, their focus is on the major pain. So we ask questions like, so all that is happening, which part really hurts you? Which part is hard to talk about, and which part can you talk about without any overwhelming emotions? And then they will usually open up to talk. For some, it will take a long time, especially if they've been in the abuse for a long time. But for some, some are also minimizing. They will consider it as nothing. Oh, it's nothing. It's just my husband who is having problems, or it's just my father who is going through problems. That's why he's behaving that way. It's very important that you tell them that, oh, well, they are probably going they are probably going through things, but their reaction towards you is also very important for you to consider. And I think that you are an important person. Look at this workplace. You're important to us. And you do great things for us. You're a lovely person. So I don't think that anybody should do A, B, C, D to anybody, including you. So you are worth it. This is contrary to what the abuser will be telling them at home. So it enlightens them on how they should relate with you, because you see them in a different light from what the abuser sees them to be. So open-ended questions are very important.
That's wonderful. Open-ended questions. I'd like to let our participants know that you can ask questions. Yes, there's a question here. And the question says that, so this from Phyllis. Phyllis says, good morning, everyone. This is an insightful session, I must say. My question is, how about the workplaces or someone being abused differently outside? Psychologically, how can we help the person better after trying all angles being mentioned? And I'm sure you might have touched on it, but if you can please go over how abuse can be dealt with at the workplace, and how can we psychologically help the person? That's Phyllis's question. We can't hear you, Madam. You're muted.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No worry.
Usually, if an abuse is going on at the workplace, then you are probably not the first person. Okay. the person abusing probably has done it to a lot of the workers at the workplace. So it's very important that at the workplace you have somebody, if it's not even at the workplace, at home, there should be who can communicate and tell them things that are happening at the work. We all know our colleagues at work and how everybody can behave. There's definitely one person there that can be spoken to, and there's definitely that person. That person definitely knows a lot about the workplace. When I go to a new place or when I'm at a workplace, the people with are the drivers and the security men, because these people know everybody at the workplace. Surprisingly, okay, so there are people that you can. This person, is that how he is? Complaining to me. Sometimes you don't have to say it's you. You can just say, oh, somebody is complaining to me about this. And I want to find out if that is what the person does often. Okay. And then usually workplaces now are required to have a sexual harassment policy. So when you know the policy, you can use the channels. And sometimes if it's the bigger boss, okay, then it becomes a problem. So you have to seek professional help and know how to work around the person. Okay, you would have to avoid some spaces with the person, some eye contacts with the person. You can also equally report. It depends on the extent to which the situation is. If it's avoidable, if the person is avoidable, avoid the person. If you are in a position where you can find a new job, you can also try that. But it all boils down to self-esteem and self-worth. When to the person and you know that you can have support. Usually when people feel they don't have support, and they start to feel helpless. But at the workplace, every workplace must have sexual harassment policy. Okay, and if the workplace doesn't have that policy, it's important that you consider government have sexual harassment policies, and the civil service knows about this and they have policies in place for that. So there's always a way. It's very important you communicate to somebody and make sure you have support in the workplace. If it becomes a dying matter, it's very important that you report to somebody.
Thank you so much, Madam Georgina. There's another question from Jairus. Jairus is asking how we can distinguish between gender-based violence signs and symptoms, and then symptoms of other trauma and stress. How can we differentiate between this is gender-based symptoms and signs, and this is maybe some other trauma or stress?
At the basis of every violence, okay, you can't separate from depression, separate trauma from anxiety, whether it's sudden fear. Okay, if somebody has a phobia of snakes, we believe the person has some underlying trauma in there. So when you're talking about trauma, the signs are similar, honestly, but the difference is that in the abuse, we have the constantly with the abuser. Okay, but after you have separated the person from the abuser, the person will start to show trauma symptoms. So okay, those start to show the traumatic stress symptoms, like the person is not around anymore, but they feel the person is there. They have flash of things that the person did to them. They have dreams about it. They have the panic attacks still. Then we have post-traumatic stress experiences. For the psychological signs, okay, especially, and the behavioral signs, those still manifest even after has been separated from the abuser. And then we say the person is having a post-trauma experience.
Thank you.
Violence in itself is a traumatic experience.
Okay, there are more. I think there are 2 or 3 questions. So permit us to answer them so that you can quickly go, as you mentioned, that you have to attend to your patient. So there's another question here. It says, how do you recover from verbal and psychological abuse? think the person wants to recover themselves, how do they do that?
Okay, so if you've been through a verbal or psychological, it's important you see a professional. But the first aid I can give is that you need to consider yourself. Repeat to yourself that you are somebody, you are very important, and then you are worth living. You is important, and people need you. That's where it starts from, because the verbal and psychological abuse makes you feel like you are nothing, takes away your self-worth, it takes away your self-esteem. So for starters, you can take it from there, repeating to yourself words of affirmation. I am something, I'm somebody, I am important. What they say about me is their perspective. What I think of me is very important. So changing your self-image is very important. And the question is, why should I believe what they are saying and not what they're saying? Because Kwame thinks I'm amazing, but my abuser thinks I am depressive and I'm a problem to the world. Whose reports would you believe? You can't control a person's thoughts, a person's feelings, and a person's behavior towards you, but you can't control your thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior. But it's important that you see if you've been through that before.
Wow. After this session, I'm sure you take us through some positive affirmations so that we all say it after you. There are two more questions and then would bring this session to an end. What measures should be taken for children who witness abuse? Father physically abusing the mother, for example, as a means of protecting them both physically and mentally. For children who have witnessed it, maybe in their homes, their schools, how do we, what measures should we take to protect them physically and mentally?
When you say protect them, I'm not sure the extent. If the person is still living in the abusive situation, then it's very hard. Okay. Healing starts off when they are no more in the environment. So we had a child come in, and the child, his father used a cutlass on his wrist. So he wanted to go stay with his mother now, and not with his father. So Dobson made sure that he moved to the father's place and then went to the mother. The IGP made sure the man was put behind bars. Okay, so he was taken out of the harmful environment, because for children, the healing really begins after they've been taken out of the environment. But if they are still living there, then it will be hard for them, because the person they are living with is their loved one, is their Superman. The person is their superhero, and they believe so much in them more than you. So all you can do as a helper is that when they come into your environment, show them the other side of the abusive grass, like what happens on the other side if abuse is not going on. Then they know that, oh, I can go to this person and have some kind of peace. Do you see?
Yeah.
But it's very important that you give them to an agency, or you report it for them if they can't report it themselves. Okay, because this boy I'm talking about who had a wrist cut, there was a policeman who saw the man with the son. He had tied it, and he asked him, why is he bleeding so much? And the man was explaining. So the policeman said, no, let's go to the police station. You make a statement. And then the policeman took the child to the hospital, and they did a signal on it, and the case was transferred to Accra. Okay, so somebody has to do something for the child. Somebody needs to report for the child. And when they are out of that environment, let's say if they are your students, you show them how the other side looks like.
Right.
And then how they should behave. If they are strong enough to tell an auntie in their family, they should tell that auntie that the children have family members that they are close to or they feel they can talk to. You can
Mm.
ask them, is there an auntie you can talk to? Is there a family member you can talk to? And you tell them to do that. Okay. Sometimes it's very important that you, the helper, is very careful, because when the abuser is aggressive, they can come and look for you and then start to harm you. So
Mm.
you need to be very keen on that. Empowering the victim to do something. Okay, empower the victim to do something. Empower the victim to speak. For children, it's usually the speaking and then the defending of the abuser. Okay, so that's one thing you can do. You empower the child to speak to somebody. You empower them to tell something, and then let them know that there's help for them.
Thank you so much. The questions keep coming in. They keep coming in as you speak. I would like you to address just last two questions, and then you give us your final words, and then take us through some positive affirmations as we say them. Yeah. So this question is that how would you go about a sexual abuse? How would you address sexual abuse if the perpetrator is a close family member, like a brother, and the family doesn't want to make it a police case? What are you going to do?
It depends on the age. Okay, if the
Okay.
child is being defiled,
So
right?
the person mentions a specific age here. So it says if the victim is 10 years old, for instance, yes, and is being abused by a family member, a brother, for instance, and the family do not want to make it a police case, what should be
Yes,
done?
most families don't make it a police case. They even bring it to Bonsu and they go back and say, "Oh, yeah, back will come with you." You see, they don't
Yeah,
make it a police
police.
case. They usually take it back home. But the question is the child still experiencing it? If the child is not experiencing it anymore, if the child has been moved away from that brother, if the mother is still not stopping the son from hurting the child, but usually the family queries the abuser. So the abuser tends to become aggressive towards the victim instead of, especially when it comes to the sexual abuse part, they become aggressive. And there's always one person in the family who gets disgusted by it and wants to help. Maybe the person doesn't have the economic status to help, but if the person wants to take the victim out of the environment, it's very important that we allow them to do that. Okay, so what we are looking for is support. Once the support is available,
Yeah.
then let's use it. If it's for a given number of days, that should be okay for the victim to go and experience the post-trauma experience and heal from there.
One last question, and then we are done. How do we identify an abuser? Most perpetrators don't look like abusers, and what help can we render to them, as maybe day to day might have experienced abuse in the past? That how come they are also now abusers? So how do we identify them, and is there a way we can help them?
Yes, I've thought about this question myself several times. I look at how we can help the abusers. Abusers don't usually see themselves as abusers. They don't usually think they are doing anything wrong. They feel they are protecting themselves and they are protecting what they have. But they are usually going towards the extreme, which becomes a problem. They are very self-defensive and they try to protect their image. So pointing out to them is very important, using scenarios and scenarios to point it out to them. So I don't think all of us are Christians here, but I'll use the Bible as a reference. Okay. when David killed a man and took his wife, when God sent Nathan to go and tell him what he had done, he used a story to tell him this is what another man did, and then this is what happened. Okay. And then David was like, no, then we have to take away that man's properties and everything. Then they said, that is you. So if you want to help an abuser, you need to, because they are very critical and judgmental, you need to present to them, you can present to them a story that will allow them to be critical and judgmental.
Right.
Then you tell them that is what you've seen in them, especially if you are close to them, if you are their friend.
Yeah.
And usually those who are remorseful already know that they are going through that. So they have to ask for help. And if you want to start that conversation, then the time and place is very important. The approach is very important. And then the open-ended questions are also very important. But because they are self-defensive, it's very hard if they have not come to realize their own mistakes.
Thank you so much. And we'd like you to share your last message with our audience. Anything you'd like to put out there for us?
Okay. Thank you all very much for joining this presentation. And I hope that we can all remember the tap milk approach, that whenever you are approaching an abuser or a person who has been abused, a victim, it's very important that you consider your time in your approach, your questioning, and the pressure you put on them should be very less. Let's be there for people. Let's open our eyes. Let's observe people. People don't have time to observe others. But when you develop that skill to observe, it's very, very helpful. So I'm hoping that by the end of this session, we can add questions like, have you been abused before? Do you feel like dying sometimes? So our regular conversations, when we have church meetings, when we have small group meetings, when we have friends hangouts, let's ask our friends these questions. It should be a question that should come up. Yes, play the devil's advocate and bring up these hard questions.
Right.
And let people talk about it. The person who is avoiding to talk about it, then you know that, oh, then the person is having a challenge. So let's add it to our regular conversations. Let's talk about this very often than not. At home, when you are eating. In my house, we don't have a dinner table. We all sit around one area and eat. When we are eating, when we are talking about politics, Mahama and Baumia, let's also talk about how people are feeling and what people are thinking. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. As I mentioned earlier, some positive affirmations would not be bad at all, so that we can repeat them after you, as we affirm to ourselves that we are worth it and we are needed on earth. So after you would say them after you.
Okay. So I would have everybody taking a deep breath. So you breathe in and then you breathe out. Okay, let's breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Now say to yourself, I am important. I am loved.
I am loved.
I am cared for.
I am cared for.
People are looking out for me.
People are looking out for me.
I am important to this world.
Important to this world.
And I have a lot to offer.
And I have a lot to offer.
I will do great things.
I'll do great things.
I will do wonderful things.
I'll do wonderful things.
And all things will work together.
And all things will work together.
In a way.
In a way.
That puts me.
That puts me.
In the right place.
In the right place.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Madam Georgina. It's been an insightful session with you, and it's really been affirming. And I want to say a very big thank you for taking some time off your busy schedule to spend some time with us and to share such wonderful wisdom and insights with us. God richly bless you. And to all our participants who were able to join, thank you so much. I know we could not answer all your questions, but hopefully we meet again to address them. Thank you so much for staying with us all this while, and have a wonderful day. It's bye-bye for now again. You are reminded to join us on our 16 days activism against gender-based violence. Okay, you can follow us on ANIJIE Global Foundation, and you follow whatever we are posting there and be part of it. Thank you so much again. We are ANIJIE Global Foundation interns and proud participants of the Legit Next Generation Leadership Program, and we are glad to bring you this. Thank you so much for joining. Have a nice day. Bye.